Hello and welcome to News Central. Now, I am Lekan on Onabanjo, the top stories at this hour. Nigeria's intelligence chief, Ahmed Abubakar, resigns. Army Chief al-Burhan says he is ready to fight for 100 years. Campaign kicks off for October general polls in Mozambique. Details to come your way shortly. Reports just coming in, says the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, Ahmed Abubakar, on Saturday tendered his resignation to President Bola Tinubu. The reason for his resignation is not yet known. News Central will bring you updates on this story as soon as we have more details. Let's now tell you that the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, said the current reforms of President Bola Tinubu's administration is reshaping the nation's economy. He spoke at the Nigerian Economic Summit Group National Economic Dialogue in Abuja. Edun challenged members of the organized private sector to join the government in its efforts towards the diversification of the economy. The minister noted that the US dollar domestic bond, designed to attract Nigerian savings from abroad and also fuel domestic economic growth for the betterment of the country's economy, is a good initiative. While acknowledging existing challenges in the agricultural sector, Edun reaffirmed the government's dedication to curbing food inflation and improving food security. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu says his administration has been sensitive to the citizens' needs and yearnings amid economic challenges confronting the country, stressing that different steps are being taken to address the challenges. Tinubu's comments came on the heels of intense criticism that his government has not cut down the cost of governance as it recently procured a presidential jet reportedly worth $100 million. Speaking at the graduation ceremony of the course 32 of the National Defense College in Abuja, Tinubu stated that his administration had made significant strides in addressing some challenges encountered by the citizens. Tinubu, who was represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, listed the 70,000 naira new minimum wage for workers as one of the steps taken to address the economic challenges faced by the citizens. And joining us to discuss this is an economist and a public affairs analyst, Aliyu Ilyas. Mr. Ilyas, thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
So what's your perspective on President Tinubu's claim that he has been attentive to the needs of Nigerians?
Right. Yes.
Mr. Liu, I think we're having issues with your audio, with the audio at your end. So maybe it's something we need to work on and try to bring you back on the news to get more details from you. In the meantime, let's continue to tell you that the Social Democratic Party governorship candidate Murtala Ajaka in the November 11, 2023 governorship election in Kogi State has called on the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, and other relevant security agencies to investigate the vicious attack on him and his supporters by some thugs. Ajaka and his supporters were attacked at the Supreme Court in Abuja on Friday after the 5-member panel of justices of the Apex Court, in a judgment, dismissed his appeal challenging the election victory of Usman Ododo of the All Progressives Congress for lacking in merit. Ajaka, in a statement on Saturday, condemned the attack on his person in the strongest terms, terming it an assault on democracy itself. Now, members of the proscribed Islamic movement of Nigeria, also known as Shiite, have resumed their protest. News Central's correspondent in Nasarawa State, Emmanuel Bagudu, reports that the protesters took over the Abuja-Kefi Expressway, which is the main entrance to the nation's capital. Some of the protesters said they are seeking for justice for some of their members who were allegedly killed in a rally by soldiers and policemen. The Benue State Police Command has announced the release of 20 medical and dental students from the University of Maiduguri and the University of Jos were abducted in the Otopo area on August 16. According to Catherine Anene, the police spokesperson, the students were rescued on Friday night. While the details of the operation will be disclosed later, it was confirmed that no ransom was paid. The students were en route to the annual convention of the Federation of Catholic Medical and Dental Students in Enugu when the incident occurred. Also, Muyiwa Dejobi, the force public relations officer, stated that the students were safely rescued from Untokon Forest on August 23. He emphasized that the rescue was carried out tactically by security agencies with the help of local communities and the Office of the National Security Advisor. Earlier, we were joined by security expert Nkotara Ipalibo to discuss this.
It is true that no cover was paid and their rescue was as a result of a successful security operation, then it means that their efforts must be commended. It's a commendable feat for the Nigerian security agencies to be able to rescue successfully 20 students without any casualty, without any loss. That means that security operation was very, very successful and meant to be commended. If you look at it generally or professionally from the perspective of an insider, it will be very difficult for security agencies to attack the base of kidnappers without casualties, without a fiasco, without a gun battle. And if there were gun battles, if they had to fight to rescue the medical students, then it will be on record that certain number of kidnappers were killed, injured, certain number were arrested, and the casualty usually is not going to be on one side, it's going to be on both sides. Some of the students too would have sustained injury in the process. So the story for me is too clean to assume that casualty ransom was not paid.
I'll now tell you that the Edo State Police Command says that they have arrested 2 suspected gun runners and successfully recovered over 30 locally fabricated firearms belonging to the syndicate. The police, while parading the suspects in the state capital, Benin, says that the feat was made possible through actionable intelligence. The State Public Relations Office says that several other items were recovered from the suspects and urged residents of the state to report any suspicious activities to security agencies.
Acting on credible and actionable intelligence, stormed Ilek community in Epoma, East and West local government area of Edo State, and successfully arrested 2 suspected gun runners, namely Gode Ebodage, male, and Ehichoya Omowadi, male. The operatives recovered a total of 31 locally made single and double barrel guns. 1 English-made double barrel gun was also recovered. The breakdown is 7 double barrel guns and 24 single barrel guns. Also recovered are 12 live cartridges through 2 drilling machines which they use in fabricating the illegal arms, a tool box, and a welding cylinder machine still in the forest. Preliminary investigation into the case has revealed that the suspects were in the business of renting out these guns to kidnappers, armed robbers, cultists, who then use these illegal weapons for their operations, terrorizing good people of Edo State and its environs in the process.
If you even look the whole gun now, no one will be shot to and what the same robber go use. All na hunters with the vigilante. Even my hunter.
The acting governor of Niger State, Yakubu Garba, has called on the federal government of Nigeria to urgently redeploy military forces to the Alawa community in the Shiroro local government area of the state. Garba's appeal came in the wake of a fresh devastating attack on Wednesday, where 13 farmers were brutally killed while working on their fields on the outskirts of the Alawa community. The attack has further worsened the insecurity in the region, leaving residents in fear for their lives and prompting many to flee to safer areas. The federal government had withdrawn troops from the area 5 months ago, a decision that has left the community vulnerable to incessant attacks by bandits. The absence of military protection has emboldened the criminals, leading to frequent raids, killings, and the displacement of hundreds of residents. Now, Abdullahi Shikafi, the former vice chairman, Zamfara Committee of Prosecution and Bandit, joins me to talk about this. Thank you so much, Mr. Shikafi, for joining us. Mr. Shikafi, can you hear me? I think we've not been able to fully establish communication with Abdullahi Shikafi, but then hopefully before the expiration of the news, we'll be able to talk to him. But then we'll tell you now that PDOM, an anonymous whistleblower active on platforms such as X.com with the nomenclature 99% oppressed, owning the real name, Bristol Tamono Obifiri, has been arrested by officials from the National Cybercrime Center. The arrest happened on August 5, 2024 in his hotel room in Rivers State. PDOM, who operates under the alias PDOM Nigeria, is accused of multiple offenses, including undermining government operations, unlawfully possessing classified documents, and committing cyber-related crimes. Following his arrest, social media erupted with campaigns demanding his release, led by hashtags like PDOM, Free PDOM, and Where is PDOM, after investigative journalist David Hundeyin reported his disappearance. Muyiwa Adejobi, the force public relations officer, stated that a comprehensive investigation would be conducted to ensure due diligence in addressing the allegations against the whistleblower. Now, the Federal Ministry of Works has launched new policies aimed at transforming road construction in Nigeria, addressing inefficiencies and improving the longevity of federal roads. These reforms, unveiled by the Minister of Works, Senator David Umahi, are part of the renewed Hope Road Infrastructure Revolution agenda under President Bola Tinubu's administration. Key aspects of the policies include the adoption of rigid pavements, standardizing pricing within each zone, reducing claims for price variations by contractors, and removing the consumer price index from contracts. The ministry is also focusing on enhanced supervision of projects, whistleblowing on substandard work, prioritizing projects along economic corridors, and ensuring one carriageway is completed before starting the second in dualization projects. You're watching News Central now. We're going on a very short break. We'll be back with more stories. To stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. Earlier on the news, we told you that President Bola Tinubu said that he is attentive and sensitive to the plight of Nigerians owing to the economic hardship that a lot of people are said to be faced with. And that is on the backdrop of the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, coming out to say that the policies of government are beginning to bear fruits. And now, to help us understand this better, we now have Aliyu Alias, who is a public affairs analyst, to help us, of course, talk about this and put it in a more better perspective. Thank you so much, Mr. Aliyu, for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
So earlier on, I asked you what your thoughts were as regards the statements coming from President Bola Tinubu saying that he is attentive to the yearnings and the cries of Nigerians. And I'm wondering if you also buy that line.
Right. I think that statement is expected from a government because what they are doing, they believe they are doing it to the benefit of people. But it's left for we as citizens to also assess the government and tell them if they at all they are listening to Nigeria. You agree with me that you recall that the issue of cyber security levy, there was an outcry that government should reverse it. It was actually reversed. But there's also an issue of fuel subsidy removal, which we think reinstating the fuel subsidy would have solved the problem. So for citizens, yes, you are reversing some, but the ultimate one that is actually affecting the whole Nigeria, which is issue of unfortunately removal, is not being removed. So I think government is right to say, yes, we are listening to you. Why citizens also have their own say that, yes, you may think you are listening to us. You have to do what we expect you to do. Perhaps you could also see President Tinubu go ahead to buy something for his office. You could also see the National Assembly trying to also buy a vehicle for themselves. So it's quite, it depends on which side you want to also listen to. For me, citizens are asking for a better standard of living and an increased purchasing power.
In terms of government expenditure that you mentioned earlier, the couple of things that this administration has spent billions of naira on that do not directly or indirectly affect the well-being of Nigerians, do you think there's any justification for this kind of spending in this economic hardship?
Right. I think what I only want to say is that it appears as if the government is deceiving Nigerians, because if you recall, the issue of the aircraft that government just purchased, it was on the front burner, and where there was a debate, should they go ahead, should they not go ahead. But by the time the issue of the seizure of aircraft came about, it now became open that, so federal government has actually purchased this aircraft. You also remember the issue of VH. Upon that, Nigerians say, no, it is not the right thing, they still go ahead to purchase. So for me, I think government are conscious of satisfying their own immediate need, both the legislative and also the executive. They are eager to serve their own self, while they are not that quick to solve the Nigerian problem. And a good example is the issue of CNG. You recall the president actually removed fuel subsidy on the first day he assumed office. Having assumed office, that 1 year down the line, I can tell you that, in fact, I can't say we have 3% of Nigerians on CNG. That's one challenge. Number two challenge is that you will also recall that the refinery in Port Harcourt was said that it will come on board so that it will ease the affairs of Nigerians. Up till now, it has not still come on board. So it appears they are eager to do what will satisfy them, why they take what is in need for granted.
Would that now mean that the several initiatives that this administration has rolled out are actually insignificant? I'm talking about the fact that this administration appended its signature to the 70,000 naira minimum wage, rolled out palliatives, student loans. You mentioned the CNG, although I'd asked a guest earlier and he said all those are not really talking about ameliorating the plight of Nigerians. But then I'd like to get your perspective on that also when we talk about cushioning the pangs of this economic pain.
Now, if you talked about the increase in salary, how many are the number of the civil servants in Nigeria? I'm not sure they're up to 15 million. When you add state, local government, and federal government together, I'm not up to, and how many percentage of that for Nigeria compared to the purchasing power of Nigeria that has been eroded? Perhaps, even if you look at the increment, it's just about $40 or so. So imagine at this present Nigeria, we're having $40 as salary compared to the value of dollar. You agree with me that it's insignificant? In fact, if you look at the increment so far, salary increment, this is the lowest that we ever had. So it's not about the 70,000 naira, it's about the value of 70,000 naira. Then government go ahead to bring about different palliative. As an economist, we are not very disposed to palliative because it's just an intervention that will last. If you give an household 100,000, within 2 months, they will spend the money. So after 2 months, what happened next? So that's why some of us say, in the place of giving palliative, why not use this money to make sure that there is President Tinubu actually give 10 billion for each state for them to purchase CNG. Why not increase to 50 billion? So that we know that don't give this palliative. Create CNG, whereby by the time we have cheaper transport system, it will put money back into our pocket and we'll have more purchasing power. So if you look at what they are doing, for me, I think this government needs to go back and have a blueprint for economic decision in terms of short-term plan, medium-term plan, and long-term plan. It won't be cut and join or being reactive, not being proactive. So we want them to be more proactive by having a plan that will entail the national, the states, and local government, and even private sector will key into it. That is what I think we need.
Aliu Ilyas, public affairs analyst, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
And still talking about the various things happening in Nigeria. Earlier on, I told you about the acting governor of Niger State, Yakubu Garba, calling on the federal government to deploy military personnel to the Shiroro local government area in the state, that is Niger State, in order to beef up security in that particular axis of the state. Now, we are going to be talking to one of our guests who will be sharing his thoughts with us, Abdullahi Shikafi, who is the former vice chairman, Zamfara Committee on Prosecution and Bandits. Mr. Shikafi, it's nice to have you around.
Thank you for having me.
Kindly share with us what the factors are in terms of the rise in kidnapping incidents that we've seen happen in the northern part of Nigeria.
It is a very unfortunate situation. Despite of killings, kidnapping for ransom, cattle rustling, imposition of taxes and levy, the farmers, displacement of innocent people from their country homes is highly alarming in the northern Nigeria, most especially in the northwest and also north central. And in the northeast, it is Boko Haram insurgents, terrorists, and ISWAP. So there is need for the government to sit up and live up to the expectation of Nigerians. Section 14, subsection 2 of Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, make it clear that it is a responsibility of every government to provide security and welfare of its people. So despite of banditry, it's like a wildfire spreading across the northwest and including even part of north central.
So, of course, we know what the Constitution says, and I'm sure the government also knows what needs to be done. But it seems as though several efforts have not really yielded fruits in decimating the ranks of these bandits and these kidnappers, most especially in those areas that you mentioned. Are there issues that need to be dealt with, fundamental issues that are actually inhibiting the ability of government to go into all those areas and arrest all these criminal elements?
Yeah, there is need for the government to really deploy total military action against these armed bandit and criminal elements in the northern Nigeria, because the criminal element are scambaging all over the northern state, causing havoc. So there is need for the government to deploy more funds in the development of agriculture, education, infrastructure, and also to try to find ways how to fight poverty. And there is need for community policy, because the widespread of banditry across the northern Nigeria all hands must be on deck, on all the government at all levels, but the federal government, state government, and the local government. So bad infrastructure should be fixed with judicial system, and there is need to overhaul the security apparatus. And the military should also find a way of fighting this criminal, not through conventional way, through advanced technology.
So yes, let's talk about the issue of technology, Mr. Shikafi. We've seen videos of these criminal elements share videos or share, footage of them while in their activities, sharing money and doing one or two things and posting these videos on the internet. But it seems as though the intelligence of the security operators in Nigeria have not been able to locate these criminals where they're hiding to fish them out. But then we've seen them being able to apprehend so-called whistleblowers in the country and have them arrested. So is there a bias in governance when it comes to securing the lives of people and nipping criminality in the country?
So you see the security personnel in Nigeria are overburdened, overwhelmed, and overstretched. There is need for government to apply more training on artificial intelligence so that people will now be trained how to apply technology in tracking these criminals. Like you see, some prominent traditional rulers, let's say the case of Sarkin Gobir of Gatawa district in Sokoto, he was in captivity for about 23 days. If there's a artificial intelligence gathering, it will be very easier to track the criminal down and flush them from their camp. But the conventional way is not enough to fight this criminal. And the criminals are using TikTok, internet posting, they are even hideouts, they are weapons. But yet, we don't have enough technology to trace these criminals. So there's need for the government to find another way of solving this problem. I've been saying time without number. That's kinetic and non-kinetic approach. So if the government can now use non-kinetic approach through community consultation with traditional rulers, religious leaders, I think also that's another way of fighting the crime through non-kinetic way. Or what they have done in Northeast, where they have safe operation corridor. So anybody who wants to surrender should surrender his arms and ammunition unconditionally and embrace peace and go to the rehabilitation center for training and to be reintegrated into the society.
Well, thank you so much, Abdullahi Shikafi, for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll be bringing you more stories on the news. Don't go away. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. We talk about agriculture now. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations says it is putting all measures in place to boost food production and address challenges of livestock feed shortages in the Northeast region. FAO livestock specialist Dr. Abdulrahman Mohammed disclosed this during a training organized on alternative feed fodder production in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. News Central's Omar Karawa completes the reports.
A recent report by the World Food Programme indicates that conflict in the Northeast region has led to about 4.4 million people facing food crisis. Most displaced people who are livestock farmers have lost their means of livelihood due to shortage of feed. But the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations wants to scale up livestock farming. It has organized training for government and partner extension staff across the Northeast region on alternative feed fodder production.
With these techniques that are going to learn, it will ensure all year round availability of the feed. So you can now keep it's a form of storage and preservation.
Borno State government under the leadership of Governor Zulum has already given the go-ahead and the directive that there should be enough of pasture and there should be enough of an effective program on this animal feed and fodder.
The use of hydroponics, which is a new area, is also a very good source of alternative feed to our livestock.
According to FAO, pasture development is essential for livestock production as it significantly impacts animal health, productivity and sustainability of farming system.
One of the factors that is militating against the full realization of the potential of livestock in Nigeria is the high cost of the feed. You know, this high cost of the feed, we said it's more than 70% of producing livestock. And we need high quality meats, high quality milk, high quality hide and skin, and we cannot achieve that without having feed that is readily available all year round, that is cost effective and qualitative.
So we're able to make the hydroponic feeds that will serve as an alternative feed for our ruminants.
We have also been taught on how to prepare mineral blocks, which will serve as a sort of minerals and vitamins for our animals.
The training is expected to go a long way to stabilize livestock production and enhance food security in the region. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
From the north, we take you to the eastern part of the country. In Ido land, new yams are regarded as blessings from God to mark the beginning of harvest season and end of the rains. Usually, Communities across the southeast region of Nigeria choose different dates within the months of August and September to celebrate the New Yam annually. In this report, News Central's Chinwe Ogele brings us some insights into this festival.
Yam, the most important and celebrated food crop in the entire Igbo land, gained prominence from way back. Traditionally, the male folk is known to cultivate yams, while the women concentrate on cassava and other smaller crops. This apparently made the crop become associated with patriarchy, though not consumed by only men. In the olden days, it was a man's pride to cultivate yams and own a barn, either in his compound or the community's barn. The New Yam Festival is as old as Igbo tradition and will always be celebrated by sons and daughters of the region.
It is God, the Achi, that gives them the harvest. Yam is a very big thing in Igbo land, and that is why the Igbos all over celebrate Yam Festival.
It is called Iriji across the region and is still considered a taboo for one to eat a new yam when thanks have not been offered to Chi.
It is a culture. They have some rituals they perform before they start, eating the yam.
The Iriji festival involves display of the yam harvests, music, dance, and feasting in the villages. Naturally, the new yams being celebrated are from the farms of locals. The quest for greener pastures has driven men out of the farms, leading to purchase of yams from the market by families for the festival.
I feel pained to think I'm talking about Iriji when nothing has happened. We no more have yam.
However, some men like Ndubisi Onyema from Okoyi Beku is the reason the new yam can still be celebrated with dignity.
Honor the large and all you need to go. So when you go Kogambi, Ghana,
the high cost of yams notwithstanding, some Igbos still patronize yam sellers during the festival.
But I know as long as yam is food, you can get to the markets, buy it, and make food available for you and your household.
The traditional ruler of Ibeku Ancient Kingdom, Eze Samuel Onoha, says those who condemn the festival are ignorant of the essence. As the people continue to enjoy the festival with their yams, it is hoped that more people will pick interest in cultivation of yams in the vast lands available in the region. In Omaha for News Central, Chinwe Ogele.
Thank you so much, Chinwe, for that fantastic reports. Coming up on the news. Isolation Center treats Mpox patients as cases rise in Burundi. We'll tell you more after this short timeout. Now I'll tell you that with 171 confirmed cases of the Mpox virus in Burundi and more than half the districts affected, the isolation center in King Khalid Hospital in Bujumbura is seeing more and more patients. While Mpox has been known for decades, a new, more deadly and more transmissible strain known as Clade 1B has driven the recent surge in cases. According to the World Health Organization, which has declared an international health emergency over the latest outbreak, Clade 1B causes death in about 3.6% of cases, with children more at risk. Campaigning began in Mozambique on Saturday, 6 weeks before the Southern African nation goes to the polls in a general election. Voters will cast ballots for presidents, parliaments, and regional authorities in the October 9 poll, in which current 69-year-old President Filipe Nyusi cannot stand for another term. Its ruling Frelimo party has won every national election in the country since the end of a brutal civil war it fought with Renamo, the main opposition and a former rebel group. The presidential contest will see the ruling party's Daniel Chapo, a 47-year-old provincial governor, face off against Renamo's Osofo Mamade, who is 63 years. The other two candidates for president are Lutero Semango, 64 years, from the Democratic Movement of Mozambique, and former Renamo member Venancio Mondlane, 50 years, who is running as an independent. Now, Sudan's de facto ruler, Army Chief Abdel Fattah says his government would not join peace talks with rival paramilitaries in Switzerland, vowing instead to fight for 100 years. Bourdieu, whose troops have been battling the paramilitary rapid support forces for over 16 months, made this known on Saturday in Port Sudan. The United States opened talks in Switzerland on August 14, aimed at easing the human suffering and achieving a lasting ceasefire. The talks were co-hosted by Saudi Arabia and Switzerland, with the African Union, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and the United Nations completing the so-called Alliance for Advancing Life-Saving and Peace in Sudan group called the ALPS. Away from the shores of Africa, police in France are hunting for a man draped in a Palestinian flag who was suspected of setting fires at a synagogue in southern France and triggering an explosion that injured a police officer. Authorities said the incident was being treated as a potential terror attack and all means were being deployed to find the perpetrator. Police said 2 cars outside the synagogue were set alight, with a gas canister then likely exploding inside one of the vehicles.
Les premiers éléments dont nous disposons, nous pouvons considérer que nous avons échappé à un drame absolu. D'abord parce que le commandant de la gendarmerie nous le disait, les premiers éléments, notamment de vidéosurveillance, l'assaillant était...
A National Black Business Month reaches its peak. The National Black Business Conference 2024, themed We Are Together, has brought together a formidable force of black business leaders from across the globe. The virtual conference celebrates collective progress and launches global initiatives for women in trade. News Central's Idbalani Yomoni completes the reports.
Women make up nearly half the global population and play a vital role in driving economic growth and reducing poverty worldwide. As entrepreneurs, women own or manage over 30% of small and medium-sized enterprises globally, contributing significantly to GDP and job creation. According to the World Bank, businesses owned or managed by women generate employment opportunities and stimulate local economies in both formal and informal sectors. Recognizing the importance of empowering women entrepreneurs, the National Black Business Conference launched the Connecting 1 Million Women Who Trade CWT initiative. CWT aims to connect and empower 1 million female entrepreneurs involved in international trade, starting in Africa, the Americas, and the Caribbean.
The way we're going to do this is by connecting with 5,000 business associations and cooperatives, where each organization has a membership of 200 women. It's a real simple formula, and this initiative is going to be done over a period of 14 months, just to get started.
The extent that your local organization may not qualify, or if it does, there would be opportunities to join, let's say, a national organization that is a partner, and benefit in all the ways that Ian has just described.
In Latin America, we are a number of businesses that could be part of those 5,000 associations and can count with our commitment as Global Coalition Against Systemic Racism as partner of this initiative.
These private sector programs seek to harness the collective power of women in trade while also addressing key issues such as gender discrimination, access to education, availability of funding, and child marriage, amongst others.
We have to let it be normalized that we're addressing issues of gender discrimination, we're addressing issues of girls' education, access to quality health care, access to financing and funding.
When we work together, we can build things a whole lot stronger. So I see this initiative going very, very far. And I think collectively, we're going to be able to build a really strong ecosystem for women here in the U.S. and women abroad as well.
And I believe that this initiative that would create a networking ecosystem for women is one that should be supported.
Empowering female entrepreneurs is critical to finding solutions to economic inequality and poverty reduction worldwide. Through multi-sector initiatives like CWT, the full potential of women in trade can be unlocked while reaping the rewards of increased growth, reduced poverty levels, and a more equitable global economy with opportunities for all. In Lagos, 4 News Central, Igbalani Omani.
In sports, the President's Federation Cup champion El Kanemi Warriors have been knocked out of the CAF Confederation Cup first preliminary round. Favor Itwa tells us more.
In sport, President of the Nigerian Taekwondo Federation, Saidu Abdullahi, has lauded the initiative of the 2024 Niger Taekwondo International Open, saying this will help the federation in further exposing the sport. The event, which began on August 21st at the Lekan Salami Stadium, Ibadan, ended Sunday, August 24th, with lots of glamour and fanfare showcasing the best of Taekwondo talent from around the world. Athletes from 7 countries, including Nigeria, Benin Republic, Togo, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and Mali, competed for top prize. Convener of the event, Santos Akilele, hinted that athletes for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics will be discovered at the 2024 Niger Taekwondo International Open.
The Niger Taekwondo Open initiative is a very creative idea by Santos Akilele. This event that you see happening today was nurtured far back during the All-African Games in Ghana. Santos came up with an idea that we can make Taekwondo a more appreciative sport, and we can be able to get support within the private sector.
I think some of them are here already. What do you think, Udoka? I think so. And I said that because I wasn't relying on who or what was going to be in the Nigerian Taekwondo Federation by 2028. Because, of course, the destinies of these players are dependent heavily on how the ministry treats them and how the federation treats them. And thankfully, the Nigerian Taekwondo Federation of today is very interested in them. But I'm saying that in relation to the mentality of the young people out here today.
And out to football, in a setback for Nigerian football, El Kanemi Warriors have been ousted from the CAF Confederation Cup by Benin Republic's Daji FC. Daji FC secured a 2-1 win in the second leg, advancing with a 3-2 aggregate score. The teams had previously drawn 1-1 in Ikene, with El Kanemi hoping to overturn their first leg loss. This elimination is the first for a Nigerian team in CAF club competition this season. Still talking football, 5 Edo Queen players have been selected for the team of the tournament at the recent Wafu B CAF Women's Champions League held in Cote d'Ivoire. The players, MMSN, Valentino Rocco, Suliat Abedin, Vera Samuel, and Ijoma Uzoma helped secure their team's impressive performance. In the final, Edo Queens defeated Beninese Ainovi FC 3-0 to clinch the Wafu B spot in the CAF Women's Champions League. Edo Queens will represent West Africa in the 2024 CAF Women's Champions League later this year, with the venue yet to be announced. And to wrap up sports update, Alex Iwobi's second half goal secured a 2-1 win for Fulham, earning them their first Premier League victory of the season. Emily Smith-Rowe had earlier put Fulham ahead on his home debut with a precise finish after being set up by Adama Traore. Leicester's Walt Faz initially had an equalizer disallowed, but after a VAR review, referee Darren Bond allowed the goal, ruling Jamie Vardy was not offside. Fulham's Rodrigo Muniz missed a key opportunity early in the second half, but he will be capitalized on a long ball from Anthony Robinson to net the winner, finishing past Leicester's Matt Hermansen. Congratulations to Nigeria's Alex Iwobi. And that wraps it up on Sports Update, and Favor Itwa.
That's all on the news. Before we go, we look at our top stories again. Nigeria's intelligence chief, Ahmed Abubakar, has resigned. Sudan's army chief, al-Burhan, has said he's ready to fight for 100 years. Campaign has kicked off for October general polls in Mozambique. Do send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.